Jonathan Gresham wants his Ring of Honor release. This comes moments after dropping the World Championship. How do you go from World Champion to wanting to leave the company? We're going to talk about it all and more on today's episode of WrstlXtra.
Yo. This is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A-Dazzle. As always, alongside my tag team partner, Mex. And no, it's not the first of the month, but there's so much to talk about. I had to bring Gerard in.
State of emergency.
Is here.
Right.
It is a state of emergency type of situation. The last week of wrestling has just been crazy. Gerard, I know you've probably been talking about this whole situation, whether it be on the Faction Show, whether it be on WWT Live. Mex, I know you did your live thing when you know some of this stuff was coming out, and it's just been wild. This is my first time being able to talk. You know, my fingers have been going like Tony Khan on Twitter, but you know, this is now
fingers on the loose.
Boy, oh boy.
My chance to talk about these situations. The first thing I'm gonna go with, Mex, you mentioned Jonathan Gresham, but the first thing I'm gonna go with actually is probably the biggest news in wrestling ever, maybe. When I heard this news, I think I said this on Twitter or I said it in the group chat or something like that. And I said, you know, there's gonna be no bigger news than this, apart from when you know, our queen passes away, because it's just one of those things where you just didn't think would happen. And regardless of how, when, blah, you'd still be surprised, like it just wasn't going to happen. But that news is that Vince McMahon has left his post, retired from WWE, and is no longer head of creative, no longer the CEO, no longer the chairman. The one thing he is still the majority shareholder, but apparently that's not going to make any difference to the running and where WWE goes from here. This is one of those stories where you have to ask the question: where were you when you found out that Vince McMahon had retired from WWE? So we posted this on Twitter at 4 p.m. Eastern, I believe it was, or just after 4 p.m. Eastern. 4:05 to probably be precise. That's how we know. We have to be precise. The numbers. Gerard, I'm gonna go to you first. Where were you when you found out? Did you find out straight away? How long after the tweet? And what was it like for you?
So I kind of have to take you through the day, right? So we have to start at like 11:30 in the morning Eastern time when the news dropped that Triple H would be the new EVP of talent relations. So when I got that news, I was actually on the playground with my son, and I'm like, wow, this is major. And it immediately told me John Laurinaitis is out because he had stepped down from that post. Bruce Pritchard was at the time interim head of talent relations. He's not going to obviously fill that. And so it didn't dawn on me that, wait, we hold your fork. I'm not quite done yet. So about 4:05, I'm sitting on my couch with my son, and I get this news, and like I almost started shaking. Like I needed to call somebody. So I called my guys from the faction. We FaceTime. I'm like, guys, do you understand what's happening right now? You know, it's one of those things where you're right. We saw the writing on the wall. But we've also had enough PTSD to know that he's Vince McMahon. He survives everything. He will literally be trying to run this company from the grave if he doesn't die. And if he died, he'd find a way to live. Like there was just, he was going to try to be the second coming of Jesus. You know, he had his own religion, right? So he was going to try that. He was going to try to raise 3 days later. He'd probably try to do it in 2 just to be greater, right? He'd try to do all of those things to keep running WWE.
Right.
So it really was kind of like, we never thought we'd see this in our lifetime. Never, ever, ever. And I'll get to the implications later, but in terms of where I was, it was a moment that I had to actually talk to somebody because I could not believe what was happening. And then, of course, it got all I mean, then, you know, when major outlets like CNN start covering it, then you know this is not some cool little Twitter joke. So, yeah, that's where I was. I was on my couch with my son and immediately started FaceTiming.
I can imagine Gerard. He said he was in the playground. I can imagine Gerard kind of like leaving his son on the roundabout. You know,
no, I didn't leave him with Triple H. No, we came home. We were good. But with Vince, I did come in here in my office and I left him out there playing. I did. I must admit that.
Daddy's got to go inside, son.
Yes, son. Keep watching your tablet. Watch Blippy. Give me a second. We'll be all right.
Mex, where were you? How did you find out? What was your reaction?
Yeah, so again, the Triple H news caught me off guard first thing, but then with me, I'm kind of, you know, managing my expectations. I said, well, that's all well and good. I'm a big Triple H fan, but nothing is going to change because the likes of Pritchard are still there. You know, he's not doing creative. He's just kind of determining who's coming in and out the door, which is a good enough move.
Yeah.
And then Gigi says in the chat, go easy on my boy TK. We're gonna get to him. Don't worry.
We'll get to him.
we'll get to him. Don't worry. Then with the Vince news, so big up Rest Things, myself, Rest Things guys. We all had like planned shoots and stuff we were doing over the weekend. So I went to London. I thought, let me go to London a day early, spend time with my family, and then you know, we'll work on Saturday and Sunday as planned. And Friday night came and this news of Vince dropped and the group chat was going off. And I thought the boys are just talking about Love Island or something like that. But it just kept going off. So I looked in because I wasn't watching Love Island at the time. I didn't want any spoilers. And you know, Vince McMahon's retiring. And I said, what? Like the people called. I came on live stream. I kind of divulged the information as much as possible. Again, I kind of you know, manage my expectations. I thought, okay, well, let's see where this goes. And then obviously through extension in the last couple of days or so, we've heard that Triple H is taking over creative. And that's when I lost my head and all excitement, like a 5-year-old child. I said,
right,
finally, we've arrived at this position. Like all this other news, and we like Vince has been on his way out. And like Gerard said, that he's always kind of tentative. You're thinking, is this it though? Like Vince will come back in the night and be whispering stuff in people's ears to action elsewhere. Like, but with that news, you know, it finally looks like, you know, things are on the up and up. And, you know, even before we get into everything else, I said, Vince, there will be a time that we praise Vince for the good he has done in this company. But right now, we can't, because we don't know what this guy has really done that he's running from. This retirement, it's running. It's not retirement.
Right.
He's running. Like, so let's see where it goes. Anyway, WWE looks like it's in better hands for now going forward. So looking forward to that. But yeah, absolutely shocking news over the weekend.
It's crazy. Gosh, I saw Mex jump on his live, and I was like, where is this guy? I don't know this stuff. I don't know this shelf. These plants.
Right.
You have plants, Mex, in your house? That's how I knew he was at his parents' house. I was like, yeah, you're not in your house.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And you know what the funniest thing was as well? Like Mex is there, like he's doing the talk as he does, and does it as well as he does, and running every little bit of story and news and, you know, information. Even got knowledge in there to kind of give us even more information. I was like, this guy, I'm gonna start calling him Sean Mex Sap. Because the way he was just like boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
On it. Yeah, man, this whole thing is just crazy. As you said, you know, we've all said already, like we just didn't expect it. To look at the bigger picture of the situation. Not so much what's going to happen with WWE and what Triple H might do and all the rest of it. And just as Gigi has just put in the chat, $14.6 million has been paid out as what we would term hush money.
Let's be clear about that.
Go for it, please.
Let's be clear about that. That's the latest finding, right? So what this is across these 3 stories. There were 2 stories broken by Wall Street Journal, a third broken by CNBC. Across these 3 stories, we're totaling $30 million of hush money from Vince McMahon for sexual impropriety. Let me drop that for you. That is 7 times what he paid for WCW and its library.
Imagine.
Now, I want you to think about this. What did he do with these women that was worth more than 7 times of the rest of the history of wrestling? Let's just call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. The WCW library has the old NWA stuff, all the major. It is the history of he has so much history that the actual NWA can't pull that stuff. So, with that said, Vince McMahon, $30 million to a handful of women to say silence, silence, right? So now we've got to ask ourselves some questions. What did he do? What is he running from? And what is there left to find? Because I have a few other concerns. Notice what happened on SmackDown and then what happened on Raw last night. On SmackDown, Stephanie starts the show with this 2-minute speech about WWE and Vince McMahon is retired. And can we all collectively thank Vince? Thank you, Vince. And that is the last time you have heard Vince McMahon's name on WWE programming. The announcers did not reference him. No other talent talked about him. It reminds me of, remember when Chris Benoit died and they had that whole 3-hour, dedication to Chris Benoit. And then the next night when they realized what had happened, Vince McMahon said, you will never hear his name on this program again. And then they went on and acted like it was a whole new day.
Right.
There was new fervor behind these folks who came out on SmackDown Friday. And then the only reference we got for Vince last night was a dig from Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns saying, Daddy's gone.
Here anymore.
So to me, WWE is very strategically distancing themselves from Vince McMahon. And a lot of it has to do with this. Vince McMahon's improprieties financially has cost WWE significantly, to the point where they are going to have to redo their financials for the last 3 years. So think about that. So now you've got to fix those numbers to accommodate this missing money from Vince. This has been recorded to the SEC, which these folks are outside of WWE. They handle all the financial improprieties in the United States, and there are other organizations looking into this. So trust me when I tell you, WWE is distancing themselves very strategically from Vince McMahon because they know more than the rest of us do. And they're going, nope, I don't want any parts of it. I don't want any parts of it.
Excuse me if this comes across a tad unprofessional of me, but all of this just for women or just for Bum or whatever he wanted, like for the amount of money and everything that's happened,
right?
Like, was he hiding this from Linda McMahon? As like
this
an
is bigger than
adultery.
Linda. This is bigger than Linda.
Is this a power play just for the women he worked with? Like, I don't understand. Like, surely if this came out back in, especially the 90s or whenever this happened, that he done this, he slept with someone, he hadn't paid them off, it would have been brushed under the carpet, rightly or wrongly. It wouldn't be as big as it is now. But you chose to pay them with company money. And now it looks like a much bigger crime. Obviously, more stories are coming out and the cases are becoming more big. The money has almost, from first reported, quadrupled to this point.
Right.
Like, I just feel like if he had to go down this road and do what he did, it didn't need to get to this point.
Well, I didn't think he was going to get caught. He didn't think he was going to get caught.
And that's what it is. At the end of it, that's what it is. All this type of thing, and whenever it's this type of scenario situation, with sexual indecency or that kind of stuff, it's always like this momentary thing, and it sounds crazy, like as you just said, Max, like all of this just for just for women. Like it's a momentary thing, but also this brazenness to where you feel you won't get caught. So you're not even thinking long term. No part of you is thinking long term until you realize what you've done and you're like, oh, damn. That's when the hush money comes. And that's when you think, right, sorted, done. But no, it comes, man. Your time comes. Trust me. I know your time comes. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and obviously with him being as big as he is, two being it's company money. That's where the unlawful part is.
Right.
That's where the unlawful part is. I guess to a point, the hush money in the eyes of the law would more so be the ladies against Vince, and then by law Vince wins because they agreed to take this money and be quiet.
But that's even mad to me, because we're not talking about, John Smith off the side of the road that done this and he's stealing from his company to cover it. This is a billionaire. Like, he's got this money in his own pocket, let alone his company's. Like, I'm sure, I don't want to trivialize it, but I'm sure the issue wouldn't have been so large if he had even just paid them out of his pocket, rather than the WWE's pocket, because now it's it's fraud. Ultimately, this is what he's done.
There'd actually, I very much doubt there'd actually even be an issue. We wouldn't probably even know about it if he did it from his own money.
Yeah,
we wouldn't actually know about it. I guarantee you that
there wouldn't have been an investigation about it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Talker Champion says the fact that it's publicly traded company, it's not embezzlement, different ball game.
Completely
it's a completely different ball game, and I think again. This isn't even, ethically, we have an issue, obviously, but this is bigger than that, because now you're using company money. Again, you can talk ethics about the first one we found out about, where, it's a woman who during the pandemic, while you're firing the rest of your people, you're giving her a $200,000 raise. Because, and then and the other thing is to stop people's employment when they choose not to go along with what you're doing. Now we've got issues of abuse of power. There's a lot of things happening here. And again, I think Vince never thought we'd be at this point now. But we are. And again, I'm sure there's more. And what frightens me is I don't think we've heard the half of it. And, WWE would not be making the stance that they're making now if there were. Think about this. Usually Vince was brought on for ratings. 4 weeks ago, Vince, when that first article came out with the Wall Street Journal, showed up on SmackDown. And they talked about it. This is the same guy who had to come out during John Cena's 20-year anniversary. There is no mention of Vince McMahon. Read the tea leaves, fans. I'm telling you, this is big, and we haven't seen the max of it yet.
It's major, and it's very scary to think, one, that stories are coming out. Two, WWE are trying to distance themselves from him and all the rest of it. But three, for me, the real nail in the coffin is literally Vince retiring. Vince saying, right, I'm moving away from this thing that I built, that no one can tell me about, that no one can give me any opinion about. It's me all day, every day. I'm the one changing the script at the last minute. I say whatever I say goes. But you know what? Because of this thing, I'm going, what?
It says he is guilty as charged. Think about this. When the whole situation happened several years ago, where the government was after him with the steroid case, he got on WW TV every week and screamed his innocence from the rooftops. I'm innocent. I didn't do it. He has not once said, I'm innocent in this case. Not once. He got on TV and talked about everything else.
He got on TV and said, "We're in this together." Nah, mate.
No. WWE said, "No, we're not."
Are you one? No one else.
Nah. Yeah.
Nah.
Gigi asks here, do you think we'll ever see him wiped completely? I guess it depends, if anything further, anything worse. Do you think you'll see him kind of wiped from, like, how they wiped Chris Benoit from basically everywhere?
Sure.
Do you think something like that could happen to Vince?
It all depends on how far things went. I'm gonna have to say this. If it was like someone underage, for example, done. With it being a number of women, probably not so much. Again, this whole thing isn't necessarily out there because of the ethics of it. It's more so the lawful side of it being public money and company money and all the rest of it. So I very much doubt there's going to be a whole wiping of, unless we found some over indecency of that kind of nature, R. Kelly type madness. No, unless it's something like that, I very much doubt we'll see a whole wiping of Vince. But in terms of company business wise, as Gerard said a number of times now, WWE are like, right, we've got to distance ourselves from this guy. I think someone's put in the chat about, stocks have gone up since Vince said he's left and all that kind of thing. So, it's that they're doing. It's not so much, right, we can't mention this guy's name because of the ethical side. We can't mention him because of the business side. You know what I mean? So for me, it's got to be that. It's going to be that.
It will ultimately be, and I've been saying this, if it costs them money, they're stepping away from him.
Simple.
It's that simple. And now with them being a publicly traded company, there are certain spaces that they really have to be careful about. How women are treated actually becomes a real issue for them now. So as much as we talk about the money piece, the fact that you have a significant female roster, the idea that you may have infringed upon them, that's going to come back to bite you, where perhaps 30 years ago it might not have. So I think they're going to have to play this real carefully. And the fact that they have not spun this is telling to me, because again, they're kings of spinning, right? So they could have easily said, we honor Vince for an amazing career, because that type of stuff is undeniable. The fact that they haven't says an awful lot about what they think he has done, what's about to come out, and where they want to be connected. And clearly they don't want to be connected to him.
I was when Stephanie came out on SmackDown, I was waiting for like some 5-minute vignette about Vince's career and what he's done for WWE and starting WrestleMania and buying the conference, blah blah, all the rest of it. I was waiting for that type of thing, but it was just, thank you, Vince, and her mouthing, I love you, Dad.
I love you, Dad.
When like you've seen it on the movies or something like that, when a parent's guilty and they're being taken to prison, or the judge just said guilty, and the family doesn't want to look as though they think that what the person's done is fine, but they just say,
Still love him. That's your dad, isn't it? But like, boy, he's
telling
guilty. Yeah. They, like you said, it was pretty much like, thanks, Vince, for your time, and they showed him the door politely. Like, we're not celebrating you right now. Just thanks for what you've done, and there's the door,
mate.
And let's remember, it was only 2 months ago that the same Stephanie McMahon was ushered herself out of the company, talking about, I'm going to go spend some time with my family. And that was about 3 weeks. So
she knew what Daddy did then.
I'm going to call this saga Transformers, because there's more than meets the eye.
100%.
It's true. I mean, Gerard, you mentioned about the way WWE gonna have to, deal with the female roster and females within the company in general, whether they're active wrestlers or backstage or whatever else, writers, stuff like that. And of course, we've talked about where Triple H and Stephanie now are and the roles that they play. The other big talking point amongst the wrestling community is, where does WWE go from here? Now, of course, this is WrstlXtra. We talk about black wrestlers. So what do you think could be the implications for maybe us in general, maybe for women's wrestling in WWE? What do you think could possibly change? And will we even see change? Gerard, I'll go to you first.
I think a couple of things are in order. We can look at what Triple H did in NXT to see his history with African-American wrestlers and with female wrestlers. He loves great wrestling, and he loves seeing, I mean, think about it. We saw the rise of Bianca Belair, the Street Profits, right? A lot of amazing people, that entire women's movement, Sasha Banks and the Four Horsewomen, and all of the amazing Asuka and Io Shirai.
Dream, even
right, Velveteen Dream. You know what I mean? Like, we saw all of this amazing talent really be the heyday of WWE during that period. So I think Triple H, who I like to call, everybody calls him the Game, I call him the Great Mediator, because what he has managed to do is Bruno Sammartino's in the Hall of Fame because of him. The Ultimate Warrior, like so many people who were just like, I'm done with WWE. A convo with Triple H brings them back. And so I think he has the ability, with what he can do creatively, with his general goodwill, plus with Stephanie deciding to really be pro women, and she always has been, that I think can bring us a very interesting chapter in WWE. The only thing I'm concerned about is that co-CEO Nick Khan.
True. Mex, the question has been asked many a time, and all over Twitter and stuff. Do you think it's possible that Stephanie and Triple H can bring back Sasha Banks and Naomi? That's the only thing I need them to do, to be honest. But do you think it's gonna happen?
I'm making a bit of a wish list thread on Twitter of things that Triple H needs to do, and that is top of the list. That's the first order of business when he comes back in. Is to ultimately give these women something to believe in again, that we actually believe in women's wrestling, because that, along with tag team wrestling, we've seen has kind of post evolution has kind of fallen to the wayside. Sasha Banks is almost like, it hasn't been announced, but she's basically got like 1.999 feet out of the door. It's like one toe that's hanging on still in WWE contractually. And yeah, they need to ensure that Sasha Banks and Naomi go nowhere. Like, you had a issue with the previous regime. This is the new regime. You guys know me. Come on. I'm not like him and all of that. Like, bring them back in. Sasha is one of his initial projects, if you like, from NXT. She done great things in NXT under Triple H. And Naomi as well. This is just a fan favorite. Can't do any wrong, like, to upset you. People just love her being around. You rescue this disaster of a situation and how that's happened. Bring them back in. Literally put the women's tag team titles back on. Well, they never lost it, but yeah, back on them, and just make that prominent again, so people know, okay, this is back, sort of thing. And yeah, you may have to convince the likes of Sasha that what you're going to do around women's wrestling to make it feel important, but I would imagine it's a lot easier conversation coming from Triple H to Stephanie McMahon, coming from rather than Vince trying to sell Sasha on how much he cares about women's wrestling. So it's paramount. It's we'll talk about booking and how should there be a brand split and not, and all these other kind of trivial stuff. This is paramount. Like, they're too bigger stars to just walk out and leave or be frozen out or whatever the case is. They need to fix that straight away.
It's one of those things where, as you said, Max, it's paramount. And for me, it wouldn't make any sense to bring them back if they're not holding those white belts in their hand when we see them coming through those curtains. It would make no sense. And we've also got this issue of, even on NXT 2.0, where Cora Jade threw away the tag team titles there.
Nonsense.
that's fine. Let that one go. As long as you bring that one back and have it cross-brand again as it was originally, let's go. You know what I mean? For me, it is paramount. As we've said multiple times on this show, you know, Sasha Banks is the draw. I don't care whether you like or dislike Sasha Banks on a personal level. The numbers show that woman is the draw. So again, you know, WWE are making moves to where it's about business. That right there is the first point of business that needs to be happening. To lose Sasha Banks in any sort of way when you now actually have the chance to bring her back, or you know, something to pull back on, it just has to happen. In general, do you see any kind of major changes happening? Is it too early to kind of expect or ask for stuff like that now? Triple H did what he did in NXT. We've said that countless times, but he kind of, in a way, had free reign. You know what I mean? He kind of had free reign up until Vince realized that it was getting better and then said, no, this is still mine. He had free reign. Yes, Vince is gone, but at the same time, there are still so many other people of influence within the company, WWE. Do you still think that Triple H, and I think Talk of Champions asked the question in the chat as well, do you still think he can make these types of decisions on such a large scale? This is not NXT anymore. This is WWE. Can he and Stephanie do that?
One thing I'll say quickly is that, let's be honest, in NXT, he created probably the greatest modern day indie ever.
Day long. All day long.
But he failed the assignment of what he was sent there to do in terms of make people ready for Vince, for how Vince wanted them.
Right.
He can't obviously do a drastic change. It wouldn't be advisable because the crowd may still be loyal to certain things. It has, I would say, a slow burn. But there's other little simple changes he could make just in terms of continuity from NXT to main roster and booking, and you know, just things that make sense to just clean up the show before we try to get to wholesale changes.
Gerard, how do you see it?
Yeah, you know, I think he's smart enough to understand that you just don't come in like a bull in China shop, like they did with NXT 2.0. Right? Like they literally said, okay, we're going to tape 3 episodes. And then when you come back, we got a whole new arena, all new stars. Yeah, no, I think he's smart enough to understand how these changes should happen. And I think the only reason things were done on a small scale in NXT is because that's the only scale he was given. This is a guy who has studied this business for 25, 30 years. He knows it like the back of his hand. And I think he's been saying all the time, if only I could. And now he can. And I think, and you could look at Raw last night and you could already start to see some of the changes. You know, there was a lot less talking last night on Monday Night Raw. There was a lot more action. There was chaos. There were things that immediately grabbed our attention. And so it's like, oh, you know, so I think he's going to do respectable things. Now, what's going to be interesting to me is to see how SummerSlam comes off, because SummerSlam seems so up in the air anyway. Now with Brock leaving, coming back, what's he going to do? Is this theory thing really going to happen? Because watching last night, it looks like the theory experiment could be done. So who knows, right? I think he has options, and I think he's going to utilize those options very well. Again, he's now head of creative and head of talent relations. So there's not anybody he's got to answer. This is the thing that we're going to have to get used to, which is different than anything we've ever experienced. We've never experienced in our modern lifetime a WWE without Vince McMahon as head of creative.
Right.
So the idea that Triple H does not answer to Vince, answers to himself.
Incredible.
That's something that we haven't processed yet, because we're still trying to process and see if we really believe Vince is gone.
Right.
So Triple H, and that's the Triple H answers to Triple H. Oh, and to the CEO, who happens to be his wife.
His missus. What a position to be in.
This is the best of all possible worlds.
It really is. Me being me, me having, over 25 years of experience of loving this whole thing called wrestling, and maybe about 10 years and kind of understanding kind of how this thing works really behind the scenes and all the rest of it, I do not want to get too excited, but at the same time, I am so excited to see what happens from here. We still have the possibility of Paul Heyman having, a lot more a say in what goes on, and others as well. I mean, this wasn't a Triple H thing. This wasn't a Triple H thing at all. But we saw what happened when MVP kind of had a bit of influence as well. We got the Hurt Business. Imagine something like that happening again, or at least MVP kind of having some kind of influence and creative influence and stuff like that. Allah's Gamer says, I need Kevin Dunn gone. I've already read that.
There's talk that it's on the way.
He only had that job because of something his dad did for Vince's dad way back in the day. It's the only reason why he still got a job. So he'll be gone very, very soon. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, it's interesting to see how this thing will play out. Let's move away from the madness that is WWE, and let's go to the madness that is another CEO who kind of has a little bit too much power and a bit too much say in what happens.
Before you get into it, I really feel like the live chat. I appreciate you guys for being here. You need to put some fire emojis into the live chat because we're cooking CEOs today. CEOs are on the grill. They're being served up. So throw some fire emojis into the chat.
I love that.
Yeah, man. This is this is another crazy situation. So as I mentioned to Mex just before we actually started the show, when Mex sent me the little graphic for today's show, I was like, whoa, hold on. This looks very similar to last week. We spoke last week about the possibility or the way we saw a lack of care, I guess, with Tony Khan towards Jonathan Gresham, and especially Jonathan Gresham as the Ring of Honor champion. A week later, we're talking about Gresham wanting his release from his Ring of Honor contract. Now, let's put this into perspective right now. Yeah? So, Jonathan Gresham has been with Ring of Honor, I can't remember how many years, but it's a very long time. And I can tell you this, and he told me this himself, that was the first place where he felt he was at home when it comes to wrestling promotion and feeling as though someone actually cared about the type of wrestler that he is and was trying to be. Fast forward a few years later, he is the figurehead and the main man to bring back the Pure Championship, one of the championships that made Ring of Honor as big as it became back in the day. Very similar to how the X Division, how important the X Division Championship is to Impact Wrestling and TNA. Fast forward a year after that, we keep the rocket on Gresham. He eventually becomes the Ring of Honor champion. We hear now that Ring of Honor are struggling. They've been struggling because of the pandemic and all this type of thing. But yet, Jonathan Gresham stands up and says, I know it might be going, but I'll tell you this, it's not going nowhere because I'm going to fly the flag for this company until we return. I believe that this company will return in some sort of way. I am going to travel the world, and this is without him being asked to do so. Let's be very real about this. This is on him. So yes, there's a risk in that. No one asked him to do it. You can kind of put it like that. But at the same time, he believed in his company the way that he did and wanted to make sure that the honor, and I did that on purpose, remained with this company. So he's gone to the UK, came to Progress. We had a good chat with him, me, Mex, and the rest of the Wrestling's guys. Spoke with Jonathan Gresham as well, and saw him in action. He went to Germany. He was on Impact GCW. He went to Ireland and defended his championship against this, that, and the next. big matches, smaller matches, whatever, whoever it was that was there. During this time, the big talk was, before there was any announcement of Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor, the big talk was, we want to, by the wrestling community, we want to see Jonathan Gresham in AEW versus Bryan Danielson. That was a regular talk. So to hear when people are saying Jonathan Gresham doesn't draw, I'm like, huh? Anyway, we'll get there. So then eventually Tony Khan makes this announcement. He's brought Ring of Honor. Okay, amazing. Someone that's kind of still, through what we've seen with AEW, they care about this indie wrestling and the diehard fans and the older guys like ourselves who are still into wrestling and the way we are and all the rest of it. Great stuff. Oh, Jonathan Gresham turns up in AEW. Oh, we're finally going to have Jonathan Gresham All Elite. But then within I don't even know, probably not even a month, he was wrestling on Dark. Every other Ring of Honor championship, maybe apart from the 6-man tag team championships, have been more prominent on AEW TV than the World Championship. This is a company you've just bought, made a big announcement, as he does weekly, about buying this big prestigious company with a load of history, having even a lot of its former superstars or big stars now within your own company. Let's go. But then he's still on Dark or on Rampage and like a 5-minute thing with some backstage talk and blah blah blah. Then comes Death Before Dishonor, and we know the story, but I'll tell it to the people who don't know. Jonathan Gresham loses the championship, and we find out that he wants his release, and also that before the show there was this big argument with Jonathan Gresham, Tony Khan, where Jonathan Gresham cusses out Tony Khan, and he requested his release before the show. So it wasn't simply because he lost and how he lost and the short match and blah blah blah. It was all to do with the running up to, the lack of communication, the lack of respect that he felt he had, and all this stuff. We're now in this place where this guy who has been the figurehead of the company for the last 4 years minimum now wants to leave that company. How do we get there? What level of disrespect how do you have to experience in order for you to say, you know what, sack this now? I'm done. I've held this company for 4 years off my own back, my own terms. But you know what? Sack it now. I'm done. Mex, how do we get there?
Listen, let Gerard speak because he will eloquently deliver the madness that I'm going to say. So, Gerard, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, I will say this. Jonathan Gresham, Cody Rhodes, MJF, all three of them sounds like it'd be a great category on Jeopardy. What do they all have in common? They all wanted to leave AEW. And it's all connected to Tony Khan. And so I think, I don't want to say the honeymoon period with AEW is over. I don't want to say that. But I do want to say that we are now, as we've had some time, able to start understanding what's really going on with Tony Khan. Leadership matters, and I don't want to besmirch anybody, but I will tell you there was a small thing that not enough people have been talking about that really showed me a lot about the leadership of Tony Khan. Shortly after Vince McMahon posts his retirement tweet,
talk about it.
Tony Khan, in his promotion of Rampage that night, says, "I am proud to now be the longest reigning CEO in pro wrestling. At the risk of potentially costing myself an opportunity, I'm going to just say that was classless." And it to me shows a lack of maturity how you can't even respect, not even a day before this man who quite frankly created a business such that you can be CEO,
right?
You would then turn around and make a statement like that. If you will say that about Vince McMahon, it really does make me wonder, what did you say to Jonathan Gresham? What did you say to MJF? What did you say to Cody Rhodes? We should be asking ourselves certain questions when a man who helped create the organization chose to leave the organization. Right. We should ask ourselves questions when the top heel in the organization gets on national television, cusses Tony Khan out, and says, "Fire me." So you look at the case of Jonathan Gresham, which I think you just expertly explained. You set us up so well with that, Adrian. And so now we ask ourselves, it makes perfect sense. When I see the TV title in main events and the world title on Dark, which, by the way, in the Death by Dishonor media scrum, Tony Khan says Ring of Honor will not be AEW's development territory. It will be its own standalone promotion. I see our developmental territory as AEW Dark. So you just told the world that the ROH World Champion was in development.
Basically.
Got it. But your TV champion, your tag champions, your women's champion were all worthy to be on your flagship show, Dynamite. So I understand. Now, where I'm concerned is not only did he request his release from AEW and Ring of Honor, Jonathan Gresham has deleted his Twitter account.
Right.
Jonathan Gresham has not just deleted his Twitter account, he deleted the Twitter account of the promotion that he launched, Terminus, who just had a show last Thursday. I'm equally concerned because Gresham is supposed to be at our Battle Slam show this Thursday. I don't know if any of that's going to happen. And so I just say, I hope that the day comes where with those three talents alone, Tony Khan will sit down and go, okay, what do I need to do differently? Because those are three major talents that don't want to be with the company that's supposed to be the alternative. And what's scary, and I don't think that he or anybody else anticipated, everybody was worried about beating Vince. Nobody thought about beating Triple H. And now you've got Triple H and Cody on the same team. You better start talking to them nice, Tony.
Jeez. Adrenaline in my zone. Look, yeah. For me, forget Jonathan Gresham. Subtract him from the situation in the meantime, yeah. This is your world champion for the company you just bought.
Right.
This isn't how you sell us on the company. Like you said, tag team championship, TV championship, pure championship, women's championship has all been on the Dynamite, your flagship show. Gresham just started popping up on Rampage. Can't get onto Dynamite. Come like there's a height restriction to get onto Dynamite or something. God forgive me, but yeah, it's we can't.
Wow,
he's the world champion. Like, come on, this is the first man you should have shown us. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then like now it's the whole thing of like, I can understand if he's not your champion. He was champion before you bought the company. It's still the respect we've seen with Tony Khan. He has his favorites. If you're not one of his favorites, you know, we often get this analogy of Vince McMahon toys and new toy comes along, drops the old toy. This is the same lack of respect he showed Big Swole at the top of the year. Like this isn't how you deal with it. We were here, threatening last week over is he going to make the switcheroo, give it to Claudio, and they did it at the first opportunity. The show started and we had a new world champion. And then obviously there was the rumor last week in terms of the spoiler that he was on the recordings of Dark without the championship. Right. And it's like, how do you go from a world champion, world title match to Dark in a week? Like, and now you've confirmed Dark is developmental as well. So it's very hard to stomach, no matter who it is that is champion. It's like, right, I can see. And like I think I was saying in the group chat the other day, I think about 2 weeks ago, Gresham came out and said, I don't know where Tony Khan sees me.
Right.
Like,
Mm.
maybe there hasn't been that communication that's been spoken of, but he doesn't know how he's viewed by his boss. And
Wow.
he is a world champion. So this isn't necessarily a Gresham thing. This is just poor management of the people working for you. And I just feel like, you know, I thought, okay, he's going to drop this title. His best bet from here on out is the pure championship and just, you know, dominate that division. But it's a backwards move. There's no other way to look at it. It's a backwards move. And, you know, even with this faction thing that he put him in with Tully's gone. Now Gresham wants out. And it's like, what is going on here? Like, even a side note, I'm happy for Cesaro. Sorry, Claudio. But I'm not even sure if Claudio, this is how he would have wanted to eventually win the world title without a story, without, you know, the whole build and everything like that, just come in as the top name and kind of win it. But for Gresham, like you said, Gerard, it sounds horrible because it's now like, you know, maybe he just wants to disappear and forget other things he wants to do. Even Terminus looked like, you know, this was something that was picking up momentum. Each show was looking aesthetically better and stuff like that. But it's just disappointing that, you know, not even a line of communication. Like, even he said from day one where he got Ring of Honor under his control, okay, Gresham, I want you to kind of see things through for now. And then we're going to get someone to take us into the next thing. And he might not have liked that, but then you could have never argued that he didn't know that that was going to be the plan.
Right.
For it to come out that him and Tony Khan had a war of words before the match, he was never in the know. He was literally filling a position until Tony Khan got who he wanted in. And, you know, we've said this kind of disposable behavior, obviously over there in WWE, is very much, you know, you get your notice and you're off and featured endeavored and whatever.
Right.
This is the same kind of behavior, really and truly. Like, it's you're just making people very disposable and stuff. And just to end on this note, we haven't seen people want to request, or people haven't requested their leave from AEW due to things like this. It's people that have asked to leave and been allowed to leave. It's usually like personal, mental health, this, that, and the other. Right. This is going to be very interesting. You know, a lot of fans shout, "Oh, you know, if someone doesn't want to be there and want to release them," sort of thing.
Why have we not heard that yet?
It's nearly 48 hours since the new week, so, you know, Gresham's still under contract. Why are we not, you know, hashtagging free Gresham?
Right.
I want to see it. Let's be consistent.
It's perplexing to me, as you know, as it's been mentioned already. You know, this lack of communication, this lack of respect. You can change Gresham to anyone else, any other wrestler on the planet who holds a championship for a company, and there is no other way to look at the situation. This isn't because Gresham isn't the greatest with promos. This isn't because Gresham is a shorter guy, blah, blah, blah. This is just Tony Khan as the man in charge, just feeling as though, right, this isn't my guy, which he has every right to think. Absolutely no problem. But it's this lack of respect and communication to where he's not even saying to him, right, this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. You know, as Mick said, see out for the next couple of months, and I'm going to change it to so-and-so. And even as Mick mentioned last week on the show, and we were saying how maybe, you know, Claudio becoming champion is more of it's more of a business move because he's the more well, you know, more known face out of the two, which is facts. It's facts. So even if that be the reason, no problem at all. But to then just throw this other guy away, give him no communication, no respect, all the rest of it, it's perplexing to me why that happened. And I think for me, that's the question I'm trying to answer. Like, why has it gone so far? Like, why is it this bad? What is it about? Whether it be, you know, Jonathan Gresham personally, whether it be about ROH, I don't know, but why is this so different? I just don't understand. He's in control, that's cool. And we know that with AEW in general, there's kind of like this 5-year plan where they kind of know who's going to be the next champion and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But yet we're getting no direction. And I know for a fact that even with Gresham, even if it not be simply on a personal level, even for the company. Gresham's asking, what is the direction? Where are we going? What are you going to do with this? Like this again, whether this is Gresham being, I don't know, I can't think of what the word is, but whether this is Gresham thinking, you know, because I've carried the company, I should know everything and whatever. But at the same time, when you're passionate about something, and for me, that's what justifies him questioning everything that he has or that we know that he has. When you're passionate about something, you need to know what's happening next with that thing, whether you're involved or not, out of respect. And I'll keep using that word, out of respect. You tell that person, right, this is what we're doing. It may not involve you for the whole time, or you may not be the main guy. Gresham would have been, oh, cool. That's fine, just as long as I know that the company is in good hands, and as long as I know that whatever you do with me, I'm kind of still around, and that you've communicated and you've told me something. I don't know what it's like for you guys, but I know, like, even as a parent or being a child and speaking to my own parents, you know, they get vexed with you because you don't say something. It's not because of necessarily what you did or what you're going to say. It's simply that you didn't say anything. How can I help you if you don't tell me what the problem is? It's a very similar type of thing. It's just that respect of communication. And that's where the issue is for me. None of this. Gresham doesn't draw. Gresham's too short. Gresham's black. It's you can take all of that out of the scenario. It's still a lack of communication and a rich man thinking he can do whatever the hell he wants.
Let me add to that. If Tony Khan really wants to make history, he's going to have to do something that Vince McMahon did not do. Vince McMahon was the last big guy that we saw to buy multiple wrestling companies when he bought WCW for 7 times less than he paid those women. Anyway, he bought WCW. And the big question then was, okay, will you give WCW its own TV deal? Will we see WCW tour? Like, will WCW be a thing? And he bought it in March of 2001. By November of 2001, we were now doing the Survivor Series where it was winner take all. Vince McMahon was not going to have WCW as a rival promotion exist under his watch, because it is very, very difficult to manage 2 promotions that do the same thing. So this is the real question that Tony Khan has. Tony Khan only has 3 hours of television right now. None of those hours are devoted to his new toy that is now 4 months old under his watch. And we've seen titles defended. Again, think about this. Death Before Dishonor was the first standalone Ring of Honor show we've seen technically under his watch, because Supercard of Honor was already set up. So at no point have we haven't seen a house show. We haven't seen a random TV show. And we keep being told, oh, we're working on a deal. Oh, well, this, oh, well, that. I don't think Tony Khan is capable of legitimately running 2 fully thriving wrestling promotions. So one of 2 things is going to happen. Either he's going to have to put a separate set of leadership over Ring of Honor and allow Ring of Honor to go ahead and proceed, or Ring of Honor will be dissolved into AEW. It's the only way. He's going to have to figure that out. And I just think it's interesting, because all of the other guys who are Ring of Honor guys are finding themselves wrestling in other places just to keep their own lights on.
And this is the thing. Like, I was kind of in hope that we would get some type of answer, direction as to what was happening with Ring of Honor, whether that be a TV show, and I don't care whether it was on you know, national network TV or on YouTube. It wouldn't make a difference to me. Just give me a direction. Give me a weekly show. Give me a reason to want to see. When it was with Tully Blanchard, these 3 guys, Brian Cage, Khan, and the other big Samoan guy. Give me a reason to want to see them at Death Before Dishonor. Give me a reason to want to see Dalton Castle and the boys again. give me an explanation as to why we had the 6-man championship. Give me a reason to want to see FTR as the ROH champions,
right?
Tag team champions. And even give me something other than your ROH women's champion facing an AEW female who has nothing else to do, because you're not giving her anything else to do, not because of her talent, but simply because you not giving her anything else to do. It's perplexing to me. It just doesn't make sense. And don't give me this big announcement when 4 months later you've done nothing.
I wish he had never announced.
Exactly. I think the same thing. I think the same thing. Don't give me a big announcement. He loves that too much. Don't give me this big announcement, because he does it even with wrestlers. Makes a big announcement or there's a big debut, but yet you got no idea what exactly you're gonna do with that person for the next 3 months.
Right.
Probably not even a month. They'll be on Dark, just as Swerve, Jay Lethal, and however many other people you can think of. And I think that's for me the biggest issue with AEW. As you know, I say it all the time. I'm gonna say it again. I need to get a t-shirt with this on. WWE problems are pro wrestling problems. So all these different things that we've seen happen with WWE, that we've complained about, that we don't like, that we want to see the alternative and got all excited because of AEW, they're now happening in AEW, not because WWE had a problem, but because this is what happens in pro wrestling.
Yes.
You're gonna get the one guy who has probably too much power, and as Mex kind of alluded to, plays with his toys. When he gets bored with one, throws it away and brings in the new one, and that type of thing happens all the time. You're gonna have people you're gonna have too many stars, and then eventually someone's gonna be upset because you're not using them properly, and you're bringing in new stars and blah blah. This is just what happens, and I think the reason why that's frustrating within this whole thing is because we get those people who feel as though AEW can't do no wrong, but it happens. This is just what happens. I don't necessarily blame them for it happening, but there are ways to kind of solve these problems, just as we say that WWE need to solve certain problems. One of them they kind of have with Vince going. Maybe Tony Khan needs to go anyway. Maybe, but at the same time, as Gerard said, it's going to be near impossible for the man to run two separate promotions. They are being kind of given to us as two separate promotions. That be the case, run them as two separate promotions. If not, again, as Gerard said, dissolve them into the same thing. It is what it is. Make ROH the new Dark, or have another show on YouTube where one of the Dark shows disappears and ROH is your other show and whatever else. Fine, no problem. Just give us something. Guys, I don't know if you got any final thoughts, final things you want to say. We're kind of over our time already, but you know me. We can talk and I'll get cussed out anyway.
Yeah, I'll just say that as we say here in the UK, Tony Khan is showing his ass, or his ass. He's beginning to show his true colors. Ultimately,
right.
He's all of the high praise he got first for believing in wrestling, indie wrestling, getting on board, investing, and all of that kind of stuff. Now we're beginning to see what wrestling is. Like you said, these are wrestling problems and how you manage them, and he's beginning to show how he deals with them, and he's beginning to show himself up. So you may not be the man to do all of these things, have your finger in all of these pies, get the necessary help, get people that can manage situations for you, whether it's in AEW, ROH, maybe you have some board of existing people that can dabble with both, I don't know, but there's just one too many things, even as little as, like Gerard pointed out, that tweet when Vince retired. Not necessary. It just really it could be seen as he got one over Vince, but it's like, come on, it's like almost kicking a man when he's down, sort of thing. So just wheel it in, just concentrate on what you need to do, because there's a lot you clearly need to do, and just start handling business as better, or as we thought things were going to be when AEW came into inception.
Gerard, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's a crazy day in the world of wrestling, and I think this is proof that you just give certain things time. Give them time. And here's what's crazy to me: 2022, Cody leaves AEW, Vince leaves WWE. Who saw any of that happening? Oh, and we still have 5 months left in the year. It's going to be an amazing 2022.
Wow. And just to add to that kind of madness of events, Vince retired before Ric Flair retired.
That part. That part.
Woo!
Wow. 2022 has been crazy. I do not know what else could possibly happen. The timeline of stuff, even CM Punk becoming champion again, and just
very
I can't take anymore. I can't take anymore. Guys, on that note, we have come to the end of our show about 6 minutes ago. Anyway, this has been WrstlXtra. I'm your boy Ed Dazzle. Follow me on Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram, and also BWA Dazzle on Twitter. You can follow this guy Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will, on WrestleManiac.uk on Instagram, WrestleManiac UK on Twitter, and also, of course, if you're watching live, if you're watching on YouTube later on, make sure you click subscribe, and click that notification bell on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. And also, we always have to mention the Mandem, that is Wrestling's. Go over to their page on YouTube and follow them as well. This guy, Gerard Bonner, here, there, and everywhere. I think I need to see Mex versus Gerard to see who appears on the most shows throughout a week.
Around the world match.
Right.
Last man standing. Last man podcasting. That's what it should be.
Oh, gosh.
You can find Gerard on the Faction Show. You can also find Gerard Bonafide on Instagram, on Twitter. You can also find Gerard and me every now and again on WWT Live, which appears on Twitch, on the Women's Wrestling Talk Twitch page, as well as their YouTube page, the repeats as well. It's just a lot. We're doing a lot. We can't keep up.
Get this cool shirt designed by Mr. Black Wrestling Alliance himself. Absolutely.
I did a bit of a thing. I did a bit of a thing for Gerard.
You crushed it. You crushed it. Absolutely.
Where can they find it? Where can they find it?
ProWrestlingTees.com/bonafide. That's where you can find it.
There you go. Go get that. Boom. Go get that. Folks, this has been our time, long time ago, and we got to go before I get dragged out of here. We'll see you again next time if I'm still alive.
See you later, guys.
See you later, folks.